Hello guys, so welcome back to my channel and welcome back to a new video. As you can guess from the title, this video is going to be all about internships and apprenticeships. I hope I pronounced that word correctly because I recently started working in France as an apprenticee, and I basically just wanted to give you guys a couple of useful informations that you might need if you also wanna come to France and be an intern, or if you have to do an internship. Also, I kind of want to make the difference because I am personally an apprenticee and I'm not an intern, so there is a difference between the two, and I'm gonna get into that later down on this video because it's not the same. It's kind of different. It's a bit similar, but it's different. So without any further ado, let's get into this video. Also, just make sure to subscribe to this channel and like this video if you feel like doing that. And without any further ado, let's get into it. So I actually asked you guys on Instagram to send me your questions about internships, working in France, and being an apprenticee. So I'm gonna go through your questions one by one, and then I'm also gonna add some informations that I also researched on the side. So we're gonna go through everything, don't worry. Getting internship without knowing French, what are the chances? Honestly, to get an internship in France without knowing French is definitely possible, but I have to say that it's always better when you speak French because you will have a lot more opportunities than if you always speak English. When I was applying, to be honest, I didn't see a lot of jobs that had only English. There are definitely some at some like international companies, or even at like French maybe startups that who only want to do like English. I think it also depends on what your job is. Personally, like for example, my job, I work as a communication marketing specialist type of something like that, and for that both English and French was required. So it really depends on what your profession is going to be. So to the questioner, let me know down below in the comments what your studies are about and what your future profession is gonna be, because it's kind of hard for me to tell you based on a generic question, because it really depends on what you do, I would say. I actually know multiple people among my friends who work in Paris and they don't have to use French at their job, and they just pretty much go with English at the job. They don't need French, they don't even really speak French. So the best platform for finding a job in France where you don't have to speak French is Welcome to the Jungle. I noticed that Welcome to the Jungle has like the most jobs available in France where French is not required. There are a lot of other platforms that you can use to find an internship, an apprenticeship, or a job in France, such as LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great job search platform. There is Welcome to the Jungle, which is great if you want to find like non-French speaking jobs, like English speaking jobs mainly. Indeed is great as well, but I feel like on Indeed a lot of times they don't even get back to you. Like if you're not selected, they won't even bother sending you an email. So yeah, LinkedIn, Welcome to the Jungle, and Indeed, the three platforms that I use to find an internship. And I found my internship at Welcome to the Jungle. So talk about convention de stage. I still find it confusing as a foreign student, lol. Convention de stage, as far as I know, is kind of like a work contract between your school, you and your company. And as far as I know, it's illegal in France to do an internship without signing a convention de stage. In your convention de stage, there are all the information about your internship. Like for example, how many days you're gonna work a week, how many hours you're gonna work, what is gonna be your salary. Because in France, if you guys didn't know, if you do more than 44 days of internship, your company is obligated to pay you. You have to have a salary. Even if it's like not a huge amount, you're still gonna get paid if you work more than 2 months basically as an intern. So all of that info goes into your convention de stage. So it's kind of like a contract that defines the conditions of your internship, how many hours you're gonna work, what's gonna be your schedule, your missions, your remuneration, and also the advantages that your company is gonna give you. So it's a very important thing in France, and I believe that it's illegal to do an internship without a convention de stage basically. Is there any remote work from France? Yes, there is. Remote working is basically called télétravail in France. In today's age, with like after COVID and everything, it's very normal for companies to have remote work. And my company, we have usually from 2 to 3 days of remote work. A lot of my colleagues only come to the office 2 times a week. A lot of them come 3 or 4 times a week, but I would say almost everybody has at least 1 day of remote working. I think it's very normal these days in France for companies to have like remote working available for their employees. Also, I feel like after COVID, a lot of companies realized that employees don't actually have to be at the office to do the type of job they have to do. So except if your job is something that you really have to be at your office or you really have to be there physically. In the most part, I would say remote working is totally normal here and it's very in highly demand. I know that a lot of employees and a lot of people choose their job based on if they can do remote working as well or not. It's definitely a possibility. Is it true that getting a job in France is difficult? I would say, based on my experience, that it's definitely true, but also again, it's based on your like personal case. It's based on how many years of studies you did, how many years have you worked before, what is your field of work. It really depends on what you do and what your personal situation is, but I would say in general, it is a bit difficult to get a job in France. Once you're signed with a company, it's very hard after that for your company to fire you in France, because in France there are a lot of like laws that protect employees from getting fired. So once you get hired by a company, it's very hard for them to get rid of you after that. So once you're hired, it's kind of for the long term. Like they won't just hire someone and then fire them like 5 months later. So they're very, very careful when hiring people. So this is why it's very important to do things like internships or apprenticeships in order to gain the trust of a company, basically, because once you have their trust, it's for the long term. Okay, so now I kind of just wanted to talk about the differences between an intern and an apprenticee. There are a couple of differences that I wanted you guys to know, so let's see. So basically, an apprenticee is an employee with an employment contract subject to the labor code, and an intern is basically a student or learner with an internship agreement. The convention de stage is more of like an internship agreement rather than an employment contract. But if I had to compare it to someone that you all know, I would say it's kind of like an employment contract, but it's more of like an internship agreement. The main difference between apprenticeships and internships is that apprenticeship is a lot longer usually. Like apprenticeship is usually from 6 months to like 3 years, while an internship are usually shorter, so anything from like 2 months to 6 months. I know that it cannot be longer than 6 months. Both the apprenticee and the intern gets a monthly salary, and fun fact, the salary of an apprenticee is actually not taxable if it does not exceed the minimum wage. So basically you don't have to pay taxes after your salary if you're an apprenticee or an intern, if it does not exceed the minimum wage. Also, another fun fact, when you're doing an apprenticeship, if you're older than 26 years, you actually get the full minimum wage. If you're under 26, I think you get like a certain percentage of the minimum wage, which is around like 1,600 euros this year in France or something like that. But basically, if you're an apprenticee and you're older than 26, you get the full minimum wage. If you're an intern, I believe your salary is gonna be around 4 euros per hour, 3.90 euros per hour. So yeah, but it's really cool that at least you get paid as an intern and as an apprenticee in France. I think it's really nice. It's really cool. And then also when you're doing an apprenticeship, your tuition fee is basically paid by your company. You have a university, you have a school, and then your company pays for your tuition fee. So basically you don't have to pay anything for your school. And then you also get a salary in addition, so it's super cool. And when you're an intern, your tuition fee is paid by you, and then you also get a salary by your company, but you have to pay for your tuition fee. So I would say that an apprenticeship probably has more advantages because you stay at the company for longer, you stay for at least 6 months, you get a higher salary, and then you can also be at school, and then your company pays for your tuition fee. So I think being an apprentice has more advantages. Obviously, both of them are very good opportunities. If you want to get hired by a company after that, it's always better for a company to hire someone who was an intern for them for like 6 months, or someone who was a apprentice for them for a year, because they already saw how you work, they already saw what you're capable of, and they trust you more. So it's always better to do an internship or a apprenticeship if you want to get hired later by the company. And then the last question that I'm gonna answer is, how long can I stay in France after graduation? The answer to that question is that your student visa, your residence permit, allows you to stay for 12 months after you complete your studies. If you asked this question to see how much time you're gonna have to find a job after you finish your studies, the answer is 12 months, which is kind of a long time. But yeah, so I think that these are all of the questions that I wanted to answer. If you have more questions, let me know. I mean, it's still just been 1 month that I've been an apprentice, so I still don't know everything, but I'm getting there. If you have more questions, please leave them down below in the comments. And without any further ado, we're gonna show you guys what a day in my life is like as an apprentice in France, in Paris. So let's continue this vlog. See you guys later. Bye. Hello guys, good morning. So it's currently 8 a.m. and I'm heading off to work now. I thought that I would take you guys along to show you what it's like to be an intern in Paris. So in this video, I'm gonna show you guys exactly what I do in a day as an intern slash apprentice working in Paris. So I'm actually working in communication and marketing, and I usually work from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. It really depends on how much work I have that day. And I'm usually at work 4 days a week because I have school on Wednesday. I'm currently an apprentice, which basically means that I'm working and I am at university at the same time. And basically my company pays for my tuition, and I also have a salary. I'm gonna be heading off now. See you guys at work. Bye!